All right, welcome to lesson 4. In this lesson, I want to share something really important with you, and that is if you try to build a business for everybody, you're actually going to build a business for nobody. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is if you try to serve a huge audience in this general market that you found in the last exercise, you're actually not going to do very well because there's a lot of competition out there, and that focus that you have is going to be so broad that you're not going to be able to become an authority or be seen as an expert on the space. You're not going to be able to deliver exactly what those people want. So a great analogy I have for this is a Swiss Army knife. You know, a Swiss Army knife has everything you would need to sort of survive, right, in the wild. It just has all those tools. A knife, a corkscrew, bottle opener, a saw, and scissors. If you were in the market for a really good pair of scissors, would you go get a Swiss Army knife? Probably not, because you don't need all those extra things. And too many people start businesses trying to build the next Swiss Army knife, when in reality, they should focus on the one that is most interesting to them and do it the right way, in a way that other people are not. So that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to get rid of the idea of building a Swiss Army knife of something and actually getting there and building the best pair of scissors that you can, or becoming that corkscrew that everybody wants and talks about because there's no other corkscrew like it. So that's the approach we're going to take here, and we're going to use that one idea that you found. Maybe it's through the 777 exercise we did, or maybe you're coming across this video right now skipping that because you already have an idea that you have in mind. Well, we're gonna narrow that focus by looking at the market in general, seeing what is already being done to serve that market, to see then what's happening. As they say, you wanna stand out from the crowd. Well, how do you know how to stand out if you don't know what's in that crowd yet? So we're gonna look at that crowd, look at the market from a bird's eye perspective, and then zoom in and try to find a position that would make sense for us related to this particular target idea. Now, as you remember, I picked up productivity in the 777 exercise, and I kept this planning one here because I know there's just something here that I feel like would be really useful, and just, my brain is going with a number of different ideas. I'll tell you about those later in some of the next exercises, but of course that stuff doesn't really matter if people aren't saying they need certain things, and that's what we're gonna find. So we're gonna do an exercise called finding the 3 Ps of your audience, or what I like to call your market map. Now, to do this, the 3 Ps are as follows. These are the places where your target audience or target market happens to be. And again, since we're at a very general point of view, you're gonna have a number of different places where people can potentially be that you might be able to find customers from. Then you're gonna find the people. Now, not the people that are in the target audience, but the people that are influencers that already have the trust of that target audience. These are the people who own blogs and have the top social media accounts and all those sorts of things. You'll see I'll actually walk you through an exercise where I do this research, and then you can follow along afterwards. And then thirdly, the final P are the products. So looking and examining the existing products that are out there serving that audience already. And again, when you take all that and then zoom out, it's actually a fairly quick exercise, but a very, very useful one that will become a tool that you can use to discover what that position is in that market, but also that market map becomes something you can use when you begin to market your actual business by finding the people who could potentially become your partners, or the places where you could advertise, or the products that you could become an affiliate for, all those kinds of things. Now, let's not rush into it. I'm gonna take you into Google Drive and show you how to set up this spreadsheet, because you actually are going to keep track of these things. And I'll show you how to set it up so that you can get that bird's eye perspective on that market that you're getting into. Okay, so here we are in Google Drive, which is the tool that I recommend you use to actually create your spreadsheet. The reason I think it's great is because, well, more than anything, it's free and you can access it on any of your devices. So what you wanna do is click on New and then start a new Google Sheet. And what we're gonna do is actually create different subsheets, if you will, under this by clicking on this plus button down here below. We're gonna add new sheets, and we're gonna add 2 more because each of these sheets will be renamed to those 3 Ps. So let's do places, and then we'll rename this one to people, and we'll rename this one to products. Okay, that's the first step. Now head back over to places, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna create 3 different columns here. Now this is where you're gonna take in information about these different things that you find. So at the top here, we're just gonna put name, then we're gonna put website URL, and then notes. Notes are any interesting findings that you might happen to come across on that particular website, or for that particular person, depending on which of these 3 things or 3 Ps that you're in. So I'm just gonna expand these out really quick just to give me some room. And then what I'm gonna do is bold these because these are sort of the top level items. And then I'm gonna take this bar here on the left-hand side and drag it down underneath 1 so that it becomes static there at the top. So as you can see, as I scroll down, those column headers will stay in its place. We want to do the same thing for people and products as well. So to make it really easy, you can just actually copy and paste these 3 here, and I'm just going to paste them up there. Now in the resource section here in this particular lesson, you'll likely find access to a spreadsheet that might already be filled out to you, and that's the plan here. So hopefully that will be the case, but if not, hopefully this just makes it really easy for you to set up on your own too. So almost done, just gonna drag this under. Doesn't have to be perfect. Again, you just wanna make sure that you have space to collect this information. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is actually run through this research with you. Now remember, I had chosen productivity. So places where people are gonna hang out related to productivity. Now the first thing you can do to make it really easy for yourself is head on over to google.com and simply search for blogs, forums, and podcasts related to productivity. That's the easiest thing you could do. So an easy way to search for blogs is to type into Google BLOGS : and then your keyword, productivity. And then you're gonna get a whole list of blogs that talk about productivity. Now you might come across one of these posts that say top 50 blogs about that particular topic. Here's top 10 productivity blogs, 10 must-read blogs for productivity junkies. That's actually a good score because we can actually go to these and see which ones are the most popular. So these aren't necessarily blogs where people are talking about productivity, but they're actually collating all the best productivity blogs out there. So what I would do is click on any one of these. So let's go to this life hack one and scroll down, and you can just begin to start copy pasting these. So 43 folders, I would actually open up a new tab and just make sure that they're still around. So 43 folders, I'm gonna go back into my spreadsheet and type in 43 folders, paste in that URL, and no notes in there for now. I'm not gonna do some heavy research into each of these right now, but you may wanna spend a little bit of time just to see maybe what their expertise is and make some notes about them so you can come back to that later. But again, we're just in the research phase right now, so don't worry too much about it. Going back to that life hack article, all things workplace, I'm gonna go into that and copy this, and then type in all things workplace and paste that URL. And then I'm gonna move on. Well, I'm probably going to get, there's probably hundreds that I could put in here. What I would shoot for is getting anywhere between 20 to 30 for each of the places, people, and products. That's gonna give you a good understanding of who's in that marketplace, what products are being offered, where people hang out, and that will give you that bird's eye perspective that we're looking for. So I'm actually going to stop where I'm at now with places because I wanna move on to people and also products, but I will share the final spreadsheet that I have that I'm working on right now with you in the resource section in the course inside the lesson right now. So before I move on, I'm actually gonna save this. So Smart from Scratch Market Map. Make sure you save your stuff, obviously, so you don't lose it. Okay, now people, you can do the same thing on Google. Actually, before I do that, let me go back to Google here for you and show you some other tips related to finding different places. If, for example, the niche you're looking into doesn't have many blogs, you can look at forums. I love looking at forums. For me, I feel like they're a completely underutilized place where people within a particular niche are located. So forums, productivity, see if there are any productivity forums. So Personal Productivity Stack Exchange, Productive Geek is a forum. Man, these are just telling me exactly what's going on right now. Yeah, there may not be as many. Here's a forum on evernote.com, which is a productivity tool that's all about productivity, so I can get some good information there as well. Obviously, I would collect that information and put it into my places here too. Try to get between 20 to 30 different places. Another thing you can do is actually look for podcasts in a similar way. So instead of forums, you can put podcast, productivity, and put that in here, and you'll find the top productivity podcasts here. And you may not find podcasts for your particular niche, and if not, that's okay too. Now, other things you might want to look for are things like conferences and events. Don't just think online, but you can think offline too. Again, you just want to know where your potential target audience hangs out, because we're going to be digging deeper later on to see what they're saying, what they're thinking, what they like, what they dislike, and what we can do to kind of be a part of that market and enter with something useful for them. Okay, now let's move on to people. People, if you look at the places here, you're likely going to find people who own these websites, personal brands. Those are people you want to absolutely include here on the list of people with their URL, notes about them. Other places you can look for people are places like Twitter. So if you go to twitter.com is actually an amazing search engine where you can find a list of people. So I'm going to sign in here, and then actually I don't even need to sign in. I think I can click on this and then type in productivity, hit enter. And then what I'm going to look for are the top accounts. So you'll find down here, and we've already seen Lifehacker. So that already tells me that Lifehacker is a top player in the productivity field, and maybe something where I might be able to get featured on their site for an article for a little bit of exposure. David Allen, I know he's the author of Getting Things Done. That's why it's GTD. These are people that I would absolutely place on that list. So I'm going to copy David Allen's Twitter account. I'm going to go back to my spreadsheet here, type in David Allen, the website URL for his Twitter account. He might have a personal URL too, which would be fine. Again, you just want to know who these people are. Author and founder of GTD, Getting Things Done. And then, thinking ahead, I'm pretty sure that that will also be a product, his book, in the products tab here in our spreadsheet. So I'm not going to go on. You might be able to find people in other ways. Another recommendation I have for you is actually to look at podcasts. So if you look at iTunes, you might even be able to find in Google. Let me go back to Google for you. Look up actually, let's go back to the podcast search that we had earlier. Let's look at the top 10 productivity podcasts for 2016. And here we go. Here's a list of names already. Extreme Productivity with Kevin Kruse. I'm going to open up a new tab. That is a name that I want to take down. So there's Kevin Kruse right there. I'm going to go back to my spreadsheet. Here's Kevin Kruse and paste that in there. Top podcast in productivity. And then I can, people who host podcasts, they typically have a number of followers and listeners. So these are people that would be good to include on this list too. There's Getting Things Done, again, with David Allen. The Beyond the To-Do List, this is from Eric Fisher, who's a friend of mine. I would absolutely include him on here. So let's just do that really quick. And friend, hey friend. Okay, so that's people. You get the idea. Try to get a list of 20 to 25 to 30 influencers in the space. Again, that's going to be really important for you to know just who's there, but also who you can reach out to in the future. And lastly, products. There's a number of different ways to look for products. The best and easiest way, and this isn't relevant for all niches, but the best and easiest way would be to go to Amazon.com. So let's see what kinds of products are already being offered for people related to productivity. I'm just going to type in productivity and see what happens. So there's books. Books are great to include in here, and books are obviously going to be a bit major focus in the productivity space. So I would probably list all of these things. Here's a daily planner. That's pretty interesting actually. So I'm actually going to, because that caught my interest, copy that and put productivity planner here in my products list. Productivity planner, and paste that URL so I can easily come back to it later. One thing to note, especially with these URLs, if these URLs are quite long, you want to highlight the space and go to Format and Wrap Text. That would at least get you to make the URLs in these long pieces of text wrap into a column so it's not overextending upon other kinds of fields that you want to write into. Notes would be daily planner, small journal looking thing. Not very scientific, but as you can see, this is not very difficult. It just takes a little bit of time. Let me add another book over here. I might be able to sort by, I could sort by author, I could sort by average customer review. I wonder if there's a way I can search for like best ratings here. Sort by average customer reviews. That'll give me an idea of sort of what most people are getting. Here's a digital calculator that people are getting that has over 13,000 reviews, but it looks like, oh no, it's not an ad. Sometimes you'll see things that look like ads, but they're not. Well, as you can see, scrolling down, there's a lot of different books I can put into here. And it would actually be interesting to, after putting those into the spreadsheet, to see what the commonalities are, what's working well, and also what's missing. And that's the beauty of using something like Amazon. You can go into the reviews, for example. If I were to click on reviews for this one, which is, well, that's about saving America. That we don't need to look at right now. But here's one. My desk is driving me crazy and overwhelmed. Do less and accomplish more. What a great headline. So this is a Kindle book that Sue had written. And I'm looking at all the reviews, and you can see why people love this book. Now, you're not supposed to copy anything, but you can get inspiration from this and see why people love this, so you can incorporate that into whatever product that you might have. I'm not saying do a book. I'm just saying here's what people who are interested in productivity love. It also might share through some of these reviews what people had difficulty with and what this book was really good in helping out. And again, those are your 3 places. That's how you fill this out. Again, once you have it all done, you're actually going to see quite amazingly that there are a lot of things that are the same. And there are a lot of things that are working well, but there's also some holes where you can fill in those gaps. And that's the purpose of this market map exercise. Okay, and that's how you begin to build your market map. And I promise you, as you're doing this, you're actually going to be noticing a lot of cool things happening in this particular space. You're probably going to be firing yourself up with some ideas already if you haven't found one, but we're not yet ready to select our one thing yet. We're honing in on exactly what that product's going to be based on the feedback that we get from the market. And then in the next lesson, we're going to be looking at the feedback and the problems and everything that's going through our customers or potential customers' heads too. But we're not there yet. Right now, your action item is to fill out that market map, those 3 Ps. Find between 20 to 30 of each of those things: places, people, and products. And then just keep working on that and go at your own pace. Do your best. It shouldn't take you more than a day or 2, depending on how much time you leave for it, to actually get something really good and solid and complete before you move on to the next one. But whenever you're ready, I'll be there for you in the next video.